To today's webinar, we're going to focus today on documenting a patient visit in TRAKnet 3.0. We're going to put someone on our schedule just to start with the documentation as needed. Choose patient, and we're going to get him up onto our schedule. Just talking a little bit about workflow and how we should actually take care of some of that documentation when a patient comes into the treatment room. One of the things that I would suggest is coming over to that patient's chart and having, whether it's using whichever dashboard they want, you could come over to the medical assistant dashboard, and then that medical assistant can make certain to take any information that needs to be done. So let's say, for instance, that medical assistant is asking Mr. Test what they're there for, their visit reason. The history of present illness in this case is the button they should have, or the link they should have on their dashboard, because this history of present illness is what we all currently remember as our subjective complaints. By clicking on that history of present illness, it's going to bring up an entire list of HPIs, or subjective complaints, that came preloaded into TRAKnet 3.0 for you. If you have a medical assistant that's able to discern exactly what type of subjective complaint they can use, they can choose it. If not, they can very easily, and you can very easily create one that just talks about pain. By clicking on subjective, clicking on the word select, you then can drop that subjective or HPI directly in, and then by clicking on the necessary answers or the necessary hyperlinks, you can very easily fill those in, and this is done across for any area of chief complaint. Once we answer all those questions, clicking Save will save it right into that dashboard for you. Any updating of medications, of course, can be done right from here for your medical assistant. The documenting of any updated information can also be done right here, and this information is covered on our first webinar, where we go through all the different buttons along the top and side and bottom of this screen. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump right back over to our scheduler. So when you come into the treatment room as the physician and you want to begin a note, or even if your medical assistant begins your note, please remember that beginning of the note from the scheduler is necessary in order for you to have that small icon show up that this patient has been charted. So creating an encounter for this patient will take you directly right through their chart and come right over to the area where you're going to document for the patient's visit. Just as an aside, in speaking about the use of old or previous templates or encounters that were created in 3.0, as opposed to those that were created in 2.0, please remember that creating an encounter in TRAKnet 2.0 and then using it again for a follow-up office visit does not allow you to continue to use those hyperlinks in that copied note for that new visit. When using it in TRAKnet 2.0, all you have is a Word document where all of the hyperlinks are not active. When utilizing TRAKnet 3.0 and utilizing an old visit and copying it to a new visit, all the previous hyperlinks will become active again. So no matter you have 1 or 15 hyperlinks, all of those links are active for follow-up use again in that copied visit. And one of the reasons I stress that is there have been many times I've seen notes where the patient remains the same age in 10+ notes or 10+ encounters. Having that proper hyperlink in there that calculates that patient age is not going to allow that to happen, and that patient is going to age appropriately when using an old encounter for a follow-up visit. In this case, what I'd like to do is we can just very easily pick a new patient SOAP template and click Start New Visit. It's going to take a moment to load everything in with this test database. I apologize. It's thinking hard about what it needs to do and all the different things. So if you remember in this case, what's going to happen here with this practice header is this is actually going to fill in with the current practice header that's in there, whether or not you've put it in or not. If there is no practice header in your template, it's going to get defaulted in with your practice information. If you want to enter in your practice information, you can then enter it in and it can default into your template. In this case, let's remember that while you can very easily, if you haven't filled in your HPI, pick out any HPI that you want to when creating a note. So if your medical assistant or scribe starts a note even without the HPI, they can very easily select this HPI, fill it in under here, and I'm going to actually just put my cursor there to show you how that looks. And then they would have to answer those questions. But if you have already previously entered in that HPI, instead of entering it again and answering those questions, if you come over to your patient data and you change it to your visit fields, you're going to see that HPI link. Now that HPI link is the same HPI link that is in your dashboard. So by clicking on the HPI link and dropping it in there, if you remember, we started answering those questions already. So just remember, wherever you answer the questions for that link, by answering them one time, all you need to do is insert them into your encounter as needed. If for whatever reason this is a follow-up visit and you didn't have the meds in here, you can very easily go over and on the patient data field, you can very easily drop in their active medications. Remember, the areas on your right-hand side, the links on your right-hand side, will correspond to other areas within your program. So if the medications or the allergies have been previously answered elsewhere and they don't happen to appear in your note, if you want them in your note, all you need to do is insert them. The information that was previously entered will automatically be placed in the encounter. Even if you do have the link, if you want to get back there and update, if somebody reminds you, oh, sorry, doctor, I remembered now I'm on a medication, by clicking on that meds and allergies will take you right out to meds and allergies. And you very easily can just scroll down and click what's needed, add it to that medication history for that patient. You can then close, see that it was added to the history, and it automatically goes right into that note. Coming down along here, remember all of these different links have been added in ahead of time under the Manage Templates. If for whatever reason you remember that you need to add in any specific link that hadn't been there previously, by clicking on the Actions button, will allow you to edit that document template right away and add in any links that are going to be there for future use. In this case, clicking over to the Objective button will then open up under your templates all of the different physical examination templates that are there. Once you do that, they will be subcategorized from your importation of these templates from TRAKnet 2.0, and just as needed, you will just come into each one as needed and then just click on the specific examination, and then it would drop right in. As needed, you're going to change to the different exams and drop them in as needed. If for whatever reason you need to insert a mini template at this point, these are created. But if you want to add in any type of mini template that's going to be there for future use for any time you use that template, under the Actions button, we'll come back to editing that document template. And then right up here, something called a template picker. So if we, for whatever reason, want to, I'm going to put my cursor right there. And under this template picker, will allow you to pick a specific template that might need to be there. So if you want to enter in a specific physical examination template, that will always be there when you activate and use that encounter, you can do that. And all of your templates are there. Let's say, for instance, this is a template that speaks about somebody who has Achilles tendonitis, and this template, you always want to have something about counseling for Achilles tendonitis. By clicking on that template picker and changing that to your plan, just so happens it's at the top of our list, and surprisingly I chose that one for easy use. By just clicking on select, it's going to drop in that mini template that's going to be there in the edit mode. Remember, we're in the editing of this template, or as you remember from TRAKnet 2.0, the modifying of the template. And once you do that, for future use, that counseling template will always be there. If we update this template, it's going to ask us to save it. And while you don't see that Achilles tendon counseling there, it's still very simple to just come over to your plan, and you could see that you could drop it in immediately as needed right there. You'll also notice that the office visit is there as soon as we made this template active. The reason that it's there, coming back over to your Actions button, you will notice that I've preloaded in the 99203 code. By preloading that in under the editing of this template, once it gets activated, I should say, that template will automatically cause that office visit to appear there, because that is the template that is behind the code. Let's talk a little bit about what needs to be done under the assessment. And while TRAKnet 3.0 continues to have the same functionality as TRAKnet 2.0 in typing out of your ICD-9 codes, and you can continue to do that, TRAKnet 3.0 is already comes prepared with our new ICD-10 Smartsheet technology. Please remember that in just a very short period of time, the easy use of the simple 3 to 4 to 5 digit ICD-9 codes are going to be replaced with ICD-10 codes. And our Smartsheet technology is going to make it a very easy transition for you. The day that they start ICD-10 on October 1st, 2015 is just going to be another day for you, because you can very easily click on the visit problems, and it now takes you out to our ICD-10 Smartsheet technology. while we currently have it set up for you to choose ICD-9 codes, you'll very easily be able to access our ICD-10 codes through our Smartsheet 10. We're currently editing and putting together a separate video that's going to appear on our website that's going to show you how our ICD-10 technology works in regards to just the use of ICD-10 codes. At this point, what you see on our screen is any active problems that this patient had previously come in for. And by very easily just choosing one of them, you can very easily just add it to the visit for that given day. If for whatever reason they're coming in for a completely new diagnosis, and let's choose just pain, you can see how very easy, just by keystrokes, it brings the answer up. You can then add that. It becomes an active problem for that patient, but then will very easily become specific to that visit problem. By clicking on Save, you will notice that they fall right into your note. One of the things that I would like to recap is you may need to edit your templates where the original link may have been listed as primary diagnosis. And while that will take you out to our Smartsheet technology, we found that that wasn't working the way we had intended. So by editing your templates to make sure that your template has the visit problems link, that will most certainly work well interacting between your encounter, the Smartsheet technology, and your invoice. By clicking over to your diagnosis, it's the exact same screen as we were just at with our visit problems. As needed, if you need to continue to type any specific codes that you may work with, you're going to see that those codes will also, once converted, explode into the verbiage that is needed. You'll also see that if we do click on the links, will come up that if what we would like to choose from. The way we have it set up right now and the way you can set up your codes is that there are specific defaulted answers that would be there. And if you need to, you can edit those hyperlinks under your treatment templates, under the Manage Templates, which was covered on yesterday evening's webinar. You'll notice that also by typing in that code, by coming over to our invoice, you're going to see that the 99203 was originally part of the template, automatically came onto our invoice, and the code that we just typed, 11721, with the embedded modifier, which was embedded in the treatment template and in the managing of the templates, shows up right away. You're going to also see that under the charges edit mode, you're going to see the previous diagnoses that were entered through our Smartsheet and ended up on our invoice. Coming back over to our note, any changes that need to be made here can be made. Any other diagnoses that need to be added, again, by clicking on the previous diagnoses, will continue to take you right back out to your Smartsheet technology. You do have the ability to create your favorites as needed, so you don't need to search for them each and every time. So if for whatever reason you want to just pick up a code, you have the ability to click on favorites, and you can add it to your favorites, and then you'll notice that it becomes part of your favorites. I already had 110.1, so we added it twice. So there's no need to search for it. Your most commonly used diagnoses can be set up as your favorites, so it's very easy to just click and add, and it will add to the patient's active and the patient's visit problems. You can also very easily set it up just like you can in TRAKnet 2.0 when converting over any of those plan templates that may be associated with a CPT code. Please remember that if you associate the verbiage with the CPT code, you can very easily just insert that in, and that will not only put the verbiage in, but will put the CPT code on your invoice. The addition, if necessary, of any e-prescribing can be done right from here. Any hotspots that need to be added from here. If you need to attach any specific documentation, can be done from right here. Actually, it's actually through the insert. You're going to click on attachment, and that attachment will take you out to any scanned documentation that appears in your multimedia file, and then you can very easily attach any document that's been scanned into multimedia that you need attached to this specific documentation. So all we ran through this morning was just the documenting of that patient visit. What Brooke is going to do this evening on our billing is continue this process, taking the CPT codes and diagnosis codes, connecting them together, and showing different processes that go on for claim submission and for all the other billing processes that go on at this time. So while today was a relatively short webinar, it is something that is just a small piece of what is needed in the encounter presentation. On other webinars, we've covered how to write that referral letter, making sure you have the proper information for meaningful use. But today we're focusing just on the documenting of a patient visit and whether or not you wanted to use a SOAP template or if you had previously chosen a single template. Please remember that all these templates can very easily have any of these mini templates added in and edited at any given time. But for now, we're going to bring this presentation to an end, and I invite everybody to join this evening's webinar where Brooke is going to continue this patient visit or a patient visit with different coding and take you through the billing webinar. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today, and please attend this evening's webinar. Visit our website for the recordings of these webinars under the resources button, and the continuation of this webinar series will be next week with the smaller group-focused webinars to begin the week after next, where they're going to be much more interactive. But at this time, I would like to say thank you, and we are adjourned.